Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NBA strategy show presented by PrizePicks, and happy St. Patrick's Day. Hey, get in the spirit. A little bagpipe action, highly underrated instrument, by the way. Anyone who disagrees is wrong. Tweeted out, Adam, the Wire today, the scene with Cole's Irish wake. What a great scene that was. But more than anything, happy to have you guys with us. And happy to have Adam with us today. It decides that it appears that he decided to show up. He looks fresh, ready to rock. What's going on, man?
Dude, I think I woke up once an hour the entire night just to check my phone. I was so paranoid about oversleeping again.
Oh, last night?
Yeah, last night.
It's the worst feeling, man.
Yeah.
It is. It happens. But everyone was like, do you guys think he's okay? I guarantee he was up late watching something. Maybe a couple drinks. I know you weren't tuned up or anything.
No,
I guarantee his phone died and he forgot to plug it in. And I get a tweet from him at 10:30 saying exactly that.
Yeah. And the really bad part, so my phone charger had been in my office, and I did actually remember to take it into my bedroom, and then I just didn't plug my phone in.
Yeah. Well, you're here now. Theodore said the Nets freaking suck. Dude, I was on a bunch of overs that looked so promising early on. And then they couldn't scrap together 100 points against the Kings team playing their second of a back-to-back on the road with one of the worst defenses in the league. That was, what's that?
I had so many lineups last night, just fire emojis plus Mikal Bridges and Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yeah. Or after the first quarter, everyone had fire emojis from the Nets.
Right.
And it looked really good. And sure, we know that they doesn't always sustain across 4 quarters. They had 41 points at halftime.
Yeah, it was awful.
Absolutely terrible. Did you see the Joel Embiid ejection, non-ejection the other day, or foul out, non-foul out the other day?
No, I didn't.
Dude, Cleveland was an uproar. And let me tell you, Embiid should have been fouled out. So it was a 6 foul. There's 4 minutes left in the game. Philly finally takes their first lead. They end up winning, but it's 4 minutes left in Cleveland. Joel Embiid pushes off, takes the offensive foul and the turnover for the 6th foul. Doc goes, all right, screw it. I'm going to challenge it because why not, right? So he challenges it to keep his best player. They overturn the call, reward a successful challenge, and it was mayhem in Cleveland. I'll tell you what. I didn't blame JB Bickerstaff. Big fan of old Bickerstaff too. He yapped at the refs for 10 straight minutes after, and I don't blame him at all. Those are the type of things where you go, all right, do the refs have a hand in this? I'm not saying they do, but I'm taking the perspective of the people who believe that everything is rigged. You ever see plays where you just look at it and you go, well, that's just going to add ammunition?
Yeah, or it's just this, it's so blatantly, obviously wrong.
Yeah, it was so bad, and they reviewed it and confidently overturned it. He shoved off with the
when you watch the replay and then you get it wrong.
Right. I don't know. Maybe some people disagree. Maybe I saw a wrong angle. But who cares? We got basketball to talk about. St. Patrick's Day, little March 17th action. Let's have some fun here. Brian said Guinness for breakfast today. Good call, dude.
Yeah, it doesn't sound bad.
Or at least, I'd probably just drop a couple ounces of Bailey's just do a 50-50 Bailey's coffee split.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea either. I haven't decided if I'm going to go watch the game somewhere and get Guinness or not, but that sounded really good.
Actually, now that I think of it, St. Patrick's Day falling on a Friday is dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think about that till now.
Well, it basically gives us 2 St. Patrick's Day weekends too, because last weekend was parades and bar crawls and stuff. For whatever reason, they did it last weekend instead of this one. But I'm sure it's still going to be a big weekend this weekend because it's just an excuse to go back out.
Yeah. Should I just plan on not seeing you Monday morning?
Yeah. So somebody said it's St. Patrick's Day's on a Friday. Adam won't be back till Monday.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up before you do anything. Takes a single second to do so. And by God, it helps us greatly. Atone for your sins and wash yourselves clean of that stench. It is kind of a Catholic day, right? Show some love. subscribe to the channel too. And if you're listening in podcast form, we know you're out there. We appreciate you too. Even if you can't comment, leave a rating or review. It helps us greatly. Subscribe to the pod. Tell your friends about all that stuff. And one more thing for those of you that have had fun, just shooting the shit with us all the time and whatever it is. If you're into betting and you're looking to, celebrate or commiserate together, we have a brand new chat room going for betting. It's called Chalkboard. It's going to be, in my opinion, like the gold standard of betting. You can sync all your sports books with it. All the box scores and everything are in the app too, so you don't have to go anywhere. It's totally free, 100% free. Always will be free. The app Chalkboard. I'll see if I can get the link to drop in the chat in the chat if you guys want to join. And the chat is free too. Like we'll never charge you for anything. We're all hanging out in there. It's brand new. Get into the ground floor. We're going to be giving out some free Bet Pro memberships, Odd Shopper Plus memberships, and all that stuff. So we'd love to have you guys come over. Help us really cultivate a community like we have here in YouTube chat. Sweat them together, celebrate, commiserate, all that good stuff. Chalkboard, just download the Chalkboard app and you'll search Odd Shopper. You can do that as well. It's totally free. It's going to be sick. Anyway, let's get into it. We got 8 games to talk about. Philly laying 10 points on the road. 227 total here against Charlotte. The only piece of injury news is that Mark Williams is out, and that should be pretty much a prolonged period of time. But looking at Philly today, it's certainly a good matchup for pretty much everyone on there, starting with Joel Embiid and James Harden. With 8 games and with the high price points on these guys, how do you want to approach the Sixers?
Yeah, they certainly look good here. A good matchup against the fast-paced Charlotte team. No Mark Williams in the front court for Charlotte. Weakens the defense a bit as well. Should be a big spot for Joel Embiid. You're getting a ton of playing time from him. Obviously, he's an elite scorer, the now favorite to be MVP, which is absolute bullshit. But, 38 minutes last game.
Wait, say that again?
What?
Say that again? What's
Embiid
bullshit?
is the favorite to be MVP, which is absolute bullshit.
Why is that?
Because he's not having as good a year as Jokic, and he's not as good as Giannis. Like, there's no logical argument for Embiid to win the MVP.
Continue. I'm not going to stay here all morning with you. I just wanted to make sure that's what I thought you said.
Yeah, no, that is what I said. But Embiid looks great here. Playing huge minutes, assuming this game's competitive, you're getting 36 plus out of him. Price tag's reasonable. Same goes for Harden at 9,600. Pretty cheap price tag for him playing, averaging 38 and a half minutes per game over his last 10. Certainly can play more if this game's competitive. So both of those guys look good. Then you get the $4,900 price tag on Tobias Harris, who you're never going to feel good about rostering the guy, but that's a cheap price tag considering you're getting, low 30s minutes from him. Tyrese Maxey playing mid 30s. He's down to 6,300. I really like this Philly team, obviously starting with Embiid and Harden, but mixing in some Harris and Maxey as well.
Yeah, I do too. The Harris thing is Tobias Harris, though, just kind of gross. I mean, I know he's cheap now. What do you make of the fact that 2 of the last 3 games he played only 25 minutes? Because his production is already in the sewer.
Yeah, I mean, the big concern to me too is like even last game, he only played 31 minutes in a competitive game against Cleveland. So I do think that, expecting 30 to 32 minutes from Harris as opposed to like 34 makes sense. Last game too, you didn't even have McDaniels. So he still didn't get those minutes and you were missing basically his backup. So I am concerned about the playing time, but I'd still expect him to be out there like 30 to 32 minutes.
All right. I'm throwing I just threw the Chalkboard link into the chat. All the picks we give in there are free too, and everything's all free, everything. So, and it will be. It's not like it's going away. It will be. So, I just threw that in chat. Come hang out, fellas. Help us build this. All right. What about on the Charlotte side though, where you're talking about, where you're looking at no Mark Williams today? Everybody else is essentially healthy. It's not the greatest matchup for them, but. And 10.5 dogs. But do you think there are some pieces today that we should be looking at for Charlotte, particularly in the front court?
Yeah, I think there's some, secondary options here. You have PJ Washington at 6K pulling 12% ownership. Dennis Smith Jr. at 5K pulling 13%. That seems a little strange to me, but you are typically getting mid-20s minutes from him. So I get it at that price, but seems, a little bit aggressive. Did play 32 last game. Maybe you see that again, but either of those guys look fine. Nick Richards at 5,600 getting no ownership. Certainly a tough matchup here, having to deal with Embiid on the defensive end, but there is a ceiling for him. If he avoids foul trouble, you can get 30 plus minutes, but definitely a risky spot to get to. We know Terry Rozier is going to play a ton. Kelly Oubre is going to play a ton. They're both interesting just because they're not really pulling ownership, and neither one stands out as a priority. But when in a competitive game, you're likely to get 36 to 38 minutes from both of those guys at very little ownership. It does make them appealing, especially, if you wanted to correlate it with like Harden and Embiid on the other side.
All right. Well, the rest of Charlotte, pulling up the boom bust tool right now. Dennis Smith Jr. is pulling 13% right now. PJ Washington getting 11%. Aside from that, everyone's pretty much unowned. Rozier around 8%. You do have some positive leverage with optimal percentage of 16% on Dennis Smith Jr. I guess that's interesting, and I think it'll also probably depend on, what type of value pops up throughout the rest of the day. He is playing well, Adam. The peripherals have looked nice, but, you're sitting at 5K now for Dennis Smith Jr.
Yeah, it's kind of weird ownership. Like, he played 32 minutes last game, but on average, you're expecting 24 to 26. He's fine. I think that ownership probably comes down.
Anybody else for Charlotte?
No, just a bunch of, secondary tournament options. I think any of the starters are playable. Plus Smith.
Let's talk about Washington and Cleveland. Not exactly an ideal matchup for the Wizards. Jared Allen is out on the other side, so I suppose that's relatively helpful. But also, essentially no ownership going to this team. And it's not like any of them are priced through the roof. It's just you've got a healthy Kuzma, Beal, Porzingis, all of them, at mid-range to upper mid-range price points. And Washington, as it stands this morning, looking like one of the least popular teams on the slate in a tough, slow-paced matchup on the road against the Cavs.
Yeah, I think it's another interesting tournament spot just because you're getting these very high upside players at no ownership. And like you said, cheap price tags. 8,600 on Porzingis is one of the cheaper prices we've seen on him recently. And if this game's competitive, you're likely getting 34, 35 minutes. He's about a 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy, even with Kuzma and Beal in. You're getting 36 minutes or so from Beal and Kuzma as well. They don't stand out because it is a tough matchup against Cleveland. There are going to be just other really good spots on this slate. But it's the nice thing about these 8 game slates is that you don't have to do crazy stuff to be contrarian. Like, you can just plug in Kristaps Porzingis as a very high upside play at basically no ownership, and you're different right there. So any of those three guys in tournaments, I think, are good contrarian plays, but you're not building around them just because you are going to have options to look better elsewhere on the slate.
Hey, what about the Rubio ownership on the other side of this one? I mean, he's 20, 21 minutes, maybe 22 minutes. He's been productive on a per minute basis in the opportunities he's getting. He's almost minimum salary. We have him, though, at 27% right now against this Washington team today. 21% with Garland and Mitchell both active.
Yeah, that seems pretty crazy to me. Like, I get it. He's a good point per dollar value. He's $3,100, but you're probably getting 20 to 22 minutes. It's just so difficult for him to put up a score that you actually have to have in your lineup. And it's still relatively easy for him to just get like 17, 18 points and you're just absolutely dead. So I don't like it at that ownership. Maybe the ownership comes down and I like it a little bit more. But he's a good point per dollar projection. I just question where the ceiling is for him when you have Garland and Mitchell in. You also have LeVert in. So it's not like there's obvious minutes available for him to play a bunch more.
That's how I feel too. Like there were other games where you have one of these guys out and you could say maybe Rubio gets to 25 minutes and then you're looking at it a lot differently. But here you're stoked if he gets to 22 minutes in a spot like this with a crowded backcourt. So yeah, that's an odd spot. Now, Lamar Stevens, I mean, I know that he's been getting some opportunity here. He's discounted 3,200, but I mean, 12 minutes last game is hardly appealing. 26 before that, though. So the minutes have been, had been fine prior to that. Darius Garland, to me, though, at 7,400, he's pulling some ownership. That's a pretty respectable price point and a pretty decent matchup. Him and Evan Mobley are both pulling around 20%, both basically the same price here. What do you make of them?
Really favorable pricing. It just seems like DraftKings kind of softened the pricing across the board so far. We mentioned it on the Washington side, the prices had come down. We mentioned it with Philly, with Harden being down to 9,600. You had Darius Garland at 7,600 the other day. He failed, but it was still a really good price tag, and now he's even cheaper. 7,400 in a good matchup. Certainly like getting to that. No issues getting to Evan Mobley. You should see a little bit of increased production from him with, getting minutes at the 5 with no Jared Allen. I think 9K for Donovan Mitchell is reasonable as well. He's not getting the ownership that Mobley and Garland are, but you're getting 36 plus minutes from him. Clearly, he's capable of just going out there and winning you a tournament. So, again, just a really appealing team to get to a few guys from: Mobley, Garland, Mitchell, in particular, Rubio if you need the value. But again, I'm a little concerned about his ownership.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think once you get beyond that, though, Donovan Mitchell is very expensive today. Not to say that he can't pay that price point off or that he doesn't have tournament appeal, but there's a lot of good high-priced players on this slate in that similar range. Once you get past the top guys, and not including Mitchell, is there anything else that's worth digging into?
I think you can take some shots at other pieces. One thing that's interesting is, if Ricky Rubio is going to pull 27% ownership, Chetty's only getting 5. I'm probably just not going to play either one of them that much, but that's a pretty big gap. You got 36 minutes off the bench last game for LeVert. The game before that, he had played like 34, or the last game that Mitchell and Garland were both in with Allen out, he had played like 34. You're still getting minutes from him. He's relatively expensive, but not getting any ownership. That's not a bad spot to be contrarian either. So I think you're building around Mobley and Garland. I think if you get to Mitchell, that's fine. If you get to some LeVert, that's fine. This is just an appealing team overall.
Keep it moving then. Next up, Golden State, Atlanta. Hit that thumbs up, too. I know some of you jumped in late. Maybe you forgot. That's okay. You're already drinking, already down in the Jameson this morning, and I have to remind you, but that's okay. I respect it. Golden State Warriors. I won't get into it because I think it's horrible, especially if it's not true. Did you see those rumors swirling around Wiggins?
Yeah.
If that were me and it wasn't true, I'd want to kill somebody.
Agreed.
Like, hands down. You guys could look it up for yourself. All I'm saying, I don't want to, and I'm someone that like very rarely watches what I say. I generally don't care, but there's something about being a grown man and having that type of shit go around. I think you share the same sentiment as I do, right?
Yeah. No, it's, I didn't even watch the whole video because I was just like, one, I have no idea if this is true. And two, like, if it's not, it's so messed up.
Right. And it probably is.
And even if it is, like,
yeah, why are you saying that? Exactly. Right. I felt the same. I didn't watch the whole thing either. But I'm pretty sure I got the gist of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Messed up. But he's out. He's still out. And Draymond Green is suspended, caught the 16th technical foul. Steph Curry is questionable. So coming off a 50 real actual point game. So this team could look a whole lot different tonight by the time the slate kicks off than it does right now if Curry doesn't play. But I can tell you this much: 247.5 total in this game against the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, you're looking at true shootout conditions on both sides. 247.5 is one of the highest totals you're going to see in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like a great spot for Golden State, which we don't say very often. It seems like this is typically a difficult team to get to, but you have Clay pulling 20% ownership. He's another one. His price tag just keeps falling. Shooting guard, small forward, only 7,100 certainly looks good here. He was like $8,400, $8,500 a week or two ago. Nothing's changed. He's playing 34 minutes or so, assuming that the game's competitive. Played 37 last game. Looks really good. Certainly looks better if Curry is out. If Curry is in at 10-5, he's difficult to get to at that price tag, but it still makes him a good tournament play just because he's pulling 4 to 5% ownership in a game with a massive total. Like, obviously, it's not hard to imagine that Curry just goes out there and puts up one of his huge games that you have to have. So he would look good in tournaments. You're getting ownership coming into Looney, who should play more minutes with Draymond out. That helps to solidify his playing time. You're likely getting, 26, 28 minutes at least, I would expect. DiVincenzo at 5,500 pulling some ownership. $4,400 Kuminga getting ownership. Don't know who's going to start. I don't know if they'll move Kuminga into the starting lineup. I don't know if they'll move Poole into the starting lineup. But either way, you probably have more minutes available for Kuminga. Poole, if he starts at 6,200, is going to look good. Clearly, if Curry is out, he looks great. But even if Curry is in, if they replace Draymond with Poole, you're getting more playing time. Like, there's a lot to get to from this team.
There is. And like you were saying, if Curry's out, that's going to, I mean, what's Jordan Poole's price point right now?
6,200.
You'd have to have him everywhere. You have to have him. If it comes down to it and Curry sits and you already have no Andrew Wiggins and Draymond Green, how much Poole and Thompson and DiVincenzo, who's already popular, are you getting? This team, especially in the conditions against Atlanta, it's going to be one of these teams where if you're ending up on an 8-game slate with 3 Warriors in a lot of lineups, you are 100% okay with it.
Yeah, perfectly fine with that. And like you said, this team looks good if Curry is in. If Curry is out, it's kind of just go nuts. Like there's going to be so much to get to.
Exactly. What about Atlanta though? I mean, we don't have anybody above 9% right now as far as ownership goes. Looking at the boom bust tool, if you're just looking at optimal lineup score and leverage, we have nobody above 8% right now. How much of that just comes down to the fact that this team's entirely healthy and all the price points are pretty much where they should be?
Yeah, it's pretty much that. It just gives you a very appealing team. Again, you were excited about Washington. We excited about some other teams already. But this is just a team where the whole entire roster is sub 10% owned. It's still a really good game environment. You're just not going to play these guys over like Golden State on the other side because of Golden State's pricing or over some other plays. You have James Harden is $100 more expensive than Trae Young, probably playing like 5 to 6 minutes more if both these games are competitive. So clearly you're going to go to Harden first, but he's also getting double the ownership of Young. So within a given lineup, if you need to save some ownership and you just turn James Harden into Trae Young, that's a completely reasonable approach. Capella at 6K doesn't project that well because his playing time has been inconsistent. But if you just randomly get that 34-minute game, then you're going to wish you had him. DeJounte Murray's relatively cheap at $7,800. The problem there is he's still $700 more expensive than Clay. When you just go through this entire team, you look at them and it's just like, all right, well, it's not hard to picture this guy having a good game. It's just that you actually have to click him over 2 or 3 guys that just look better at those price points.
Right. But ultimately, both sides of this game in tournaments are...
Yeah, one's going to be popular, one's not. And the Golden State side does look better because of the pricing. But, if you mix in some of these Atlanta guys as contrarian plays, that's a great strategy.
Let's talk Minnesota, Chicago here. Before we do that, shout out to our sponsor, PrizePicks. Is there any better time to take advantage of 2 things? One, the fact that PrizePicks has any sport imaginable. If you're trying to play them and build some lineups out with over-unders on these cards, maybe you're using Josh Ingleman's picks to do so. You should be. He's been crushing it lately, had some great results over there. Or you're using our tools, which you get for free when you sign up and deposit at PrizePicks. All you got to do, link in the description, link in chat. It's that simple. You click it, you sign up, you deposit. Only has to be $10. Could be $100 though, because they're giving 100% deposit bonus up to $100. So if you deposit $100, your account balance says $200. Even if you only have 10, you're still getting another 10 on top of that, right? They're matching it, whatever it is. But you're also getting this is the kicker. This is where the ears perk up, right? You're getting a $120 value free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Literally everything that we have on our site. And if you sit back and really think about this, maybe you've been on the fence for a little bit. You go, yeah, I've considered it. PrizePicks is available in my state. Haven't done it yet. Maybe I will. Free month wouldn't be bad since it's all their tools for everything DFS and for PrizePicks. If you haven't done it yet, think about this. You're getting the free calendar month. You've got baseball season starting in less than 2 weeks. You have NBA in full swing. You have NHL. You have MMA. You have NASCAR. You have PGA. You have XFL, you have March Madness, all of that included. You're getting all of our tools, projections, ownership, boom bust tool, top stack tool for all of those sports for the month, $120 value for free. And you're like, yeah, but Laffy, it's not for free. I still have to deposit on PrizePicks. They're matching your deposit up to $100. So yeah, it kind of is. You put 50 in, you get another 50 from them in your account, and you get everything on our site for free, $120 value, every tool for every sport, and the premium Discord. You can jump in there. When you do, come say what's up. Legit no-brainer. I should have to say no more outside of links in the description and in chat if you're looking to get in on that. Use all the tools for PrizePicks as well and everything else for DFS, DraftKings, FanDuel, wherever it is you're playing. PrizePicks, wonderful sponsor of the Strategy Show. Also, one more thing, it's actually a good site. Like, it's actually a fun site. Everything's smooth. It looks good. The payouts are awesome. You're 10xing on 5. If you hit 5, you're still 2xing. If you hit 4 of 5, which at traditional books is never the case, you want to get wild with some lotto tickets and go 6-pick lineups, you're 25xing on that. You can mix as many sports as you want. I wouldn't promote a bad site. I hate doing that. I've told people in the past, I tell them I won't do that on shows before with some garbage stuff that's been thrown at me. PrizePicks, I feel pretty comfortable. Awesome site. Check it out. Link in the description. All right, let's talk about Minnesota here. You got the Warriors, the Minnesota Timberwolves, 2.5-point dogs. Gobert and Naz Reid are questionable. I assume Rudy Gobert plays. Jalen Noel is still out. Going up against the Chicago Bulls today. I guess we can kick it off with the top with Anthony Edwards. He's at 9,200. Kyle Anderson, 6,900. I know you had talked about how well he'd been playing the other day. Rudy Gobert, though, most popular player on this team at 17% right now.
Yeah, Gobert. I hate Gobert slates right now because the normal rotation for Gobert has been like 29 to 31 minutes. And if he plays 29 to 31 minutes at 7K, he's fine, but probably shouldn't be nearly 20% owned. The problem is just if you get that random game where he plays 35, 36 minutes like we did the other day, then suddenly he's like the best center play on the slate. And so it's scary not to play him. It doesn't feel great to play him. It's just a really tricky spot, but I think he's a good play. If he happens to get more minutes, he's going to look great, but outside of that one game, we really haven't seen those rotations. So I think expecting around 30 minutes from him is reasonable. He's about a 1.25 fantasy point per minute guy since Mike Conley joined the team. That's not surprising. We expected that to happen. Increased usage playing with Conley. Just increased offensive production from Gobert. He looks good. I am just a little bit concerned about the recent playing time. The rest of this team pretty much correctly priced. If you want to get to some Anthony Edwards at 9,200 in tournaments, that's fine. He looks very similar to Donovan Mitchell from the Cavs, at 5% owned, where you understand that, the price tag's pretty much correct, but they're just such capable scorers that they can go out there and put up a huge game. Kyle Anderson's been playing big minutes, also playing extremely well. Still a tough price tag to want to get to Kyle Anderson, though. Gives you triple-double upside, but you're really paying for it at this point.
Anybody else from Minnesota, or you want to flip to the other side of this game?
Not particularly.
All right. Alex Caruso's questionable. We have him at 14.7% right now. I'm not sure he's going to play. He's held out of practice the other day as well. And then you're just talking about this is interesting now too. Remember all throughout the season we had seen, every day it'd be like either DeMar DeRozan's the most popular or they're all pretty much garnering the same ownership. You're really beginning to see some separation here. DeRozan's price point is the same as LaVine. He's at 1% right now. LaVine at 4%. Vooch getting 14% because he's significantly cheaper than these guys. And he's only center eligible, but he's still pulling 14%, far more than the other two big dogs on this team.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird spot because the pricing on DeRozan and LaVine itself isn't bad, but you have a situation where their salaries have increased a little bit on a slate where multiple players in their price range are cheaper than usual. So It just makes them difficult to prioritize. Certainly tournament's fine. LaVine typically playing really well, shooting guard, small forward eligible. DeRozan has not been as good as earlier in the year, but still fine. And both guys are playing huge minutes. But Vooch is the easiest one to get to, I think, just because he is a bit less expensive. You can expect around 34 minutes out of him. He's not got a great matchup, but clearly a very, very good point per minute guy. So I like getting there. We have 13% ownership coming into Drummond. That's Ricky Rubio-esque. I get it. He projects reasonably well point per dollar wise. He's only 3,100. I still don't really want to be using center spots on Andre Drummond at nearly 15% ownership all that often.
Who would you say your favorite player is from this team then today? Would it be Vooch?
Yeah.
Okay.
And keep an eye on Caruso status. That does matter. We had him ruled out last game. We got Ayo Dosunmu in the starting lineup. He played 28 minutes. Patrick Williams played 25 minutes off the bench. Kobe White played 28 minutes off the bench. You have a $3,700 price tag on White. Williams is $3,900. Dosunmu's $3,500. Caruso is a decent value if he's in, but if he's out, it does open up some other stuff.
Yeah, yesterday he was held out of practice as well. So we'll see how that looks. I think there's a good possibility that he's not going to be out there today. Talk about the Pels too. Going up against the Houston Rockets. New Orleans Pelicans, what are they? 5.5 points. How do you say New Orleans then?
New Orleans. New Orleans.
There you go. What?
New Orleans.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you had that Southern flair. What's that?
New Orleans.
Yeah, I say New Orleans. Yeah, New Orleans is a. You don't say that.
No, New Orleans.
Yeah, some people do say New Orleans. I mean, that's how it's spelled.
Yeah.
Nolans. 5.5 point favorites. 230.5 total. Dive into this one a little bit with the Pels first, then we can talk on the other side here. But Brandon Ingram, McCollum, both healthy. We've seen these guys in and out of the rotation so often that it's unusual when you get them both together. Still, I mean, I guess ultimately, the ownership is going to both of these guys, but the optimal percentage leverage minus 3% leverage on Ingram, minus 5% on McCollum. Do you think they're pretty much all where they should be today? Or is there anyone where you're looking at it and you're going, man, I really like Ingram. I really like McCollum, because in all fairness, it is a good matchup against the Houston Rockets with a pretty significant total.
Yeah, I think they're both pretty much where they should be. You didn't have Ingram limited last game. That's big. He played 37.5 minutes against the Lakers. McCollum played 37 in that game. They're both reasonably priced. The biggest negative on these guys is that neither one has MPE, which for McCollum is fine, I guess. But I have no idea how Brandon Ingram only has one position. But it makes it a little bit more difficult to get to them. But still, very fair price tags. 8,100 on Ingram, 77 on McCollum. Happy to get to both of them. Great matchup against the Rockets as well.
Yeah, I don't really think there's much more analysis to it than that, right? Like you said, You're just buying price points, getting good minutes, good matchup, but nothing really stands out. Beyond that, though, I'm not really sure there's anything to speak of. Like, unless you're taking some tournament shots on a Larry Nance here, which I think is probably reasonable. Let's look at this though with Larry Nance. I know that he's not guard eligible, as we've talked about with some of the other cheaper guys, but the Drummond ownership we're seeing right now, or the Rubio ownership at 27%, just a lot of cheap guys that are probably going to play similar minutes to Nance. Do you think there's some tournament upside for Nance?
Yeah, I like the lack of ownership here. If Jackson Hayes didn't exist, I would really like just getting like one of Joval or Nance in a lot of lineups. But with Jackson Hayes seemingly still in the rotation for at least like a handful of minutes, it makes it so you can't project the full 48 minutes for Joval and Nance. But we've seen Joval seemingly just sort of fall out of favor. He was losing minutes to Jackson Hayes. He's lost minutes to Nance all season. In games that Nance has been active, Joval's averaged about 24 minutes per game. Nance has averaged about 24 minutes per game. If you throw Jackson Hayes into the mix, you can probably say something like, 20 for Joval, 20 for Nance, 8 for Hayes, something like that is a reasonable guess. And then you just, understand that the Nance, that all of those minutes, can fluctuate pretty drastically. But at 3,500 and very little ownership, Nance is really interesting to me. He played 22 minutes last game. It shouldn't surprise anybody if he's in the closing lineup in this game and you just get like 22 to 24 minutes, certainly in his range of outcomes. I don't really understand why you would be getting so much more ownership going to Drummond and Rubio than you are Nance.
All right. I agree. Sorry, finishing something in chat. The Joval minutes right now are highly concerning though. Like, just it's very much possible that the downside is no longer 23 minutes, 24 minutes, but 15 minutes. Right.
It's like you can explain some of it. Like you had that game against Dallas where Joval picked up 2 fouls in 3 minutes and they sat him the entire rest of the first half. Then he comes in and he turns the ball over literally like 5 times in the first 4 minutes of the second half, and they just benched him the rest of the game. Like you can just kind of throw that game away, but you've just seen it. There's always something. And, it's not like, with Nance in, you had the tendency for Joval to lose minutes this year anyway. Now Jackson Hayes seems to have played himself into the rotation. Like I said, if Hayes were not likely to get minutes here, I'd still be interested in going to a $5,700 Joval and just hoping he plays well and you run into that big game, because he can certainly pay that off even in 24 minutes. But with Jackson Hayes seemingly being in the rotation, with Nance being back, I have a really hard time getting there. I think I would rather get to Nance.
Do you want to get to anything from the Rockets today? Kevin Porter's looked great lately.
Yeah, Porter's looked really good recently. He's only pulling 7% ownership here. This is kind of just another spot where I think Porter, Şengün, Green KJ Martin, Eason, like all of these guys look like pretty good contrarian plays in that they're reasonably priced. They have massive ceilings. They're not getting much ownership. It's just that I can't say they're priorities because, like, if I say, like, oh, yeah, you should be playing a ton of Kevin Porter, what am I doing with Darius Garland? Like, Darius Garland does look a little bit better than Porter, but Porter's less owned. So I think this is another good team to just be getting to in tournaments.
Me too. Yeah, I don't hate that Porter price point at all. I know he's not the most efficient shooter, but there's a lot. I think there's a lot of encouraging signs with Porter too. One of them being just the fact that this is one of those guys whose minutes, coming in and out of injuries and everything that he had were kind of fluctuating a little bit all over the place since he'd returned. He's played 38 and 39 minutes in regulation over his last 2 games. I love seeing that.
Yeah, and that included going to the locker room last game also.
Right. Yeah, exactly. 38, 39 minutes, wins over the Lakers and Boston Celtics, by the way, too. So
yeah, I mentioned it last game. I mentioned it prior to last game, but this is a team, and I mentioned it specifically with regard to Şengün. There's been this like narrative where like you can't play Şengün and the Rockets in general are tanking. They are playing huge minutes. They played in the game without Şengün against Boston. They played all of their starters nearly 40 minutes. Again against the Lakers last game, like you said, 39 for Porter, 38 for Green, 33 for Martin, 31 for Şengün, 36.5 for Jabari Smith. This team is playing their starters a ton of minutes.
Huge. Green played 40 minutes against Boston in regulation. Yeah, massive minutes right now. If they're really going to be this low owned, yeah, you're right. You'll take those minutes because it's not like anybody's egregiously priced either. Like Şengün 6,900 on DraftKings, Porter 75, Jalen Green 7K. They're not. I wouldn't be surprised a couple big games and you're seeing a lot of these guys north of 8K.
Right. The only of the Houston starters, the only price tag on DraftKings that I look at and have a little bit of hesitation is Jabari Smith at 6,800. But even that is justified in that he is suddenly playing like 36 minutes a night and he's playing really well. So it's kind of like, I think Jabari Smith's price tag adjusted and is correct, whereas the whole rest of the team is a little bit underpriced.
Agreed. Talk about Memphis. All right, 9 likes away from 100. We will get there. We will cruise there. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you. Memphis Grizzlies. Desmond Bane. Let's look at that, man. 41% on Bane today. Jaren Jackson's 27%. I got to tell you, this to me might be the weirdest thing that I've seen on the slate. And I'll tell you why. First of all, Desmond Bane was ejected last game. Okay. So he only played 22 minutes. His price point with John Morant suspended, Steven Adams out, by the way, too. Not to say it matters with Bane, but both of those guys still out. His price point has gone from 8,500 a couple games ago, right? That comfortable win against Dallas, played 29, and 22 minutes against Miami, got ejected. It's come down from 85 to 7,400. Jaren Jackson Jr.'s price point has come down from 88 3 games ago to 7,300. Now, maybe you could make an argument for this if they were playing Miami or Cleveland. They're squaring off against the Spurs today. What am I missing?
Yeah, it makes no sense. Now, if you want to say that Desmond Bane at 41% owned is too popular or is, higher owned than he should be, sure. I think that's a very reasonable
I'm just making an argument for them. The price, I don't understand how the prices drop bottom
the prices make no sense. Okay. They are clearly top plays across the board. If you want to say that Bane is going over owned, fine. He probably shouldn't be 3 times as popular as Darius Garland. He probably shouldn't be 4 times as popular as Kevin Porter Jr. He shouldn't be twice as popular as Klay Thompson. All of those are completely reasonable arguments, but he is obviously mispriced here at 7,400. You've gotten 8 games this year with no Morant, where Jaren Jackson and Dillon Brooks have both been in along with Bane. 1.14 DraftKings points per minute, 27% usage rate, 29% assist percentage, giving you 32 to 34 minutes. He's going to look really good. Jaren Jackson Jr. In those games, I'm double checking now, but I believe is about 1.3 DraftKings points per minute. You're also getting backup center minutes for him, which are valuable. 1.2 DraftKings points per minute, 24.8% usage rate in those games without Morant. But again, you're getting those backup center minutes now as well. 7,300 against a team that cannot play defense. 6,700 for Tyus Jones, giving you 33, 34 minutes at over a fantasy point per minute. All 3 of those guys look like great plays. Dillon Brooks at 5K is fine. He's pulling 12% ownership. No problem with that. Xavier Tillman's price tag has come back down to 5,900. If he avoids foul trouble, you're typically getting 28 to 30 minutes from him. That makes him look good in this spot. Santi Aldama at 3,900, not something you're super excited about, but you're typically getting like 20 to 24 minutes from him. Don't mind getting to him as a value play, although 20% ownership is a bit aggressive. This team looks absolutely fantastic across the board.
Yeah, and with Aldama, I agree. Like the ownership is a little bit concerning, but it's hard to look at the particular matchup too and not go, all right, he's sub 4K. Can I get 22, 23 minutes from him, 24 minutes from him? And if I do, am I okay with what is he, like a 0.9? He's probably like 0.9 fantasy points per minute.
Aldama?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take that all day against this Spurs team. Across the board, this team looks fantastic. And I don't understand the pricing. I really don't understand.
I guess the kind of nice thing is that DraftKings sort of did this in other spots as well, like where they dropped Thompson's price and they dropped Garland's price. If they actually had sharp pricing today and then did this with Memphis, this entire team would be like 50+% on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like if you had like yesterday's pricing and then you just had Memphis like this.
The FanDuel pricing, these guys are popular on FanDuel too. We have Tillman at 56% at 5,400.
Yeah, makes sense.
Tyus Jones, 6,700, 46%. Bane at 84, Jaren Jackson at 8,500. Yeah, going to be an interesting day looking at these Grizzlies. Let's just hope the game stays remotely competitive.
Yeah, let's hope that they manage to do better than Brooklyn did against the Kings yesterday.
Dude, what a disaster that was. I mean, what a joke. Especially because it started off so nice. All right, other side, San Antonio Spurs, clearly not as appealing, but do you want to get to some Sohan, some Trey Jones? This team, once you get to like the Keldon Johnson range against this Memphis team, it starts looking a little bit difficult to target that. Zach Collins sat that last game on the second half of a back-to-back. Our projections were right about having those guys.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah. Credit to the guys behind the scenes on that one, because Adam and I weren't sure what was going on.
Don't give them too much credit. They still had McDermott out when he played. But, yeah, no, they nailed it on that.
They did. 50% off everything, by the way. Projections, ownership, everywhere else had them in. These guys had them out at 10 a.m. in the morning. 50% off all of our tools for a month, for a week. When you do one sport, any sport, lineup generator, you can do a la carte. That's $448 a week. Half off first week. Even if you're playing $2 a day, you're in business. It's an amazing tool, and it's going to save you a ton of time if you're someone that doesn't have that time. $4.48 a week. Jacob, can you just throw anyone interested? Can you throw both of those links, the lineup generator and the 50% off him? Thanks. And yeah, it's any sport. It's one sport if you just want to do basketball for a week or a month, or any sport. 50% off everything from the top. You're getting all the projections, the top stack, boom, bust tool, ownership projections, all of the projected stats, all of our other tools, data, lineup builder, lineup cruncher, you name it. We got you covered. So check it out and join the Discord. I always say hello, come in, introduce yourself, join the community. We do this because we expect you guys to win with these tools and hopefully stick around afterwards, and we think you will. What do you want to do with the Spurs?
So yeah, not nearly as appealing as Memphis is. You have a relatively healthy team here. No Devontae Graham, so I do expect that you'll see Trey Jones remain in the starting lineup. He's only 5,100. That's a pretty decent price tag for him. Against Dallas last game, he played 32 minutes, including overtime, so about 27 in regulation. I expect him in the upper 20s here as well. Makes him look like a solid option. Jeremy Sohan at 5,600. We've seen him play better recently. He's getting double-digit ownership. I still don't know why Zach Collins doesn't get more ownership. He's only pulling 6% at 6,500. Like you said, he sat last game, but 2 games ago, you got 28.5 minutes again against Orlando. He's giving you around 30 minutes as long as he avoids foul trouble. He's a good point per minute guy. His production does go down a bit now that you're going to have Keldon Johnson in and Devin Vassell in together. But at 6,500 and basically no ownership, I think that he's going a little bit overlooked. If you want to take some shots on Johnson or Vassell, I think that's fine. But Trey Jones and Jeremy Sohan, probably the guys I get to first here. From an ownership standpoint, I really like Zach Collins as well.
Okay. Yeah. Collins at that ownership, especially, playing 30+ minutes, solid per minute guy. Yeah, I like Collins quite a bit at 6% right now. Boston and Portland.
Lots of narratives in this game too, chat's pointing out. The Jones brothers playing each other, Jaren Jackson playing the team that his dad played for.
Ooh, okay. I mean, that's ridiculous.
All meaningless, just interesting
but fun.
narrative.
But fun. I get it. Yeah, Jaren Jackson, man, dreaming about this game for a long time.
Right.
Pop's playing for the Spurs. Got to take him out.
Did you see the clip when the Rockets played the Lakers and Jabari Smith went up to LeBron and told him that LeBron's first game in the NBA was against his dad?
No, really?
Yeah, which his dad didn't actually play, but his dad was on the team.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, LeBron was just like, dude, like, why did you have to say that? I feel so old.
So how many years ago was that?
It was like 2003.
Jeez. Yeah, that's cool though. Like, means nothing, but it's fun.
Right. Yeah.
That's why sports are fun, because you get those fun narratives and stuff like that. Boston, this could go one of two ways. It could be a team that we just have very tepid interest, very little interest, I should say, anywhere. Marcus Smart's price point keeps dropping, but just haven't been a lot of opportunities for him in this offense right now, and it's showing. Unless he's racking up big defensive numbers, you're just getting no rebounding production. The assist totals are really erratic, and he's certainly not a scorer. He's at 10%. I get it at the salary. Really, the question now is, does Jason Tatum play or not? Because he's questionable.
I really, really, really hope so for best ball reasons. But I don't know. It seems like a true 50-50 to me. He luckily didn't get seriously hurt when Rudy Gobert essentially tackled him on a dunk attempt. He still played 37 minutes in that game, but this is also a back-to-back for Boston. So I could see where, they hold him out today, play him tomorrow. Again, I'm personally very much hoping he plays, but if he's in, the team as a whole isn't that appealing. You can always get to Tatum or Brown, but their prices are more or less correct. You get this group of four with Smart, Horford, Brogdon, White, where they all look very, very similar. And there's a pretty good chance that, one of them has a big game. Which one it's going to be, good luck. I understand why Smart's getting ownership at 5,200. I don't think he should be like randomly getting 3 times the ownership as Derek White, just because he's $300 less expensive. I think that Smart's the one I would play first, but all of those guys are pretty comparable. But if Tatum's in, there's nothing I love from Boston. If Tatum's out, 8,900, Jaylen Brown looks really good. Smart, Brogdon, White, Horford all start to look better as well.
Yeah, taking a 30+% usage rate with big minutes off the floor is going in a pretty appealing matchup against Portland, would look real interesting across the board. And then it's just going to open up another team getting a lot of ownership on salaries that, aren't accurate. That's not DraftKings' fault because Tatum's questionable, but it would change a whole lot. On the other side with Portland, not exactly a great spot here to be in for Portland. Damian Lillard's probable, by the way. Jeremy Grant is questionable, so keep an eye out for that. But assuming that both of these guys play, what's the approach here? Like, is it maybe a little bit of Yusuf Nurkic? I will say, Nurkic is coming off a 28-minute game. He does have insane upside, can post some monster triple-doubles, good playmaker as a big man. I know it's super risky, but 5,800 isn't the craziest thing if this game is competitive.
No, it's not. And we did see those minutes last game. My concern is if Jeremy Grant is in, do we get that 3-center rotation again where you have Nurkic, Eubanks,
right.
and Watford? And because it seems like Watford's really played his way into this rotation. They started him alongside Nurkic in place of Grant last game. He played the most minutes on the team. He played 40.1 minutes. I think they really like what they've been getting from Watford. So that's kind of my concern with Nurkic. The upside is certainly there. If he plays 26 to 28 minutes at 5,800, he looks pretty good. It's just, if Grant is in, do you get 22 to 24 minutes from Nurkic, 14 to 16 from Eubanks, and the rest going to Watford? That would be the concern for me. If Grant is out, I certainly feel better about Nurkic's playing time.
If Grant is out, what do you do with Watford? What do you do with the rest of this team?
Yeah, I mean, if Grant's out and Watford starts again, it's really tricky because Watford's center only. His price tag jumped to 4,500. I still just have a very difficult time projecting him to play near 40 minutes. And he's not a great point per minute guy. So he would clearly be playable if he's starting in place of Grant. I still wouldn't be super comfortable with it. But if Grant's out, again, makes Nurkic look better as well. Dame's fine at 10-3. Simon's at 6,200, I think is actually really interesting. You got 34 and a half minutes from him last game. So he's back to playing normal minutes. If Grant is out, you're getting a little bit more opportunity for Simons. But even if Grant is in, that's just too cheap of a price tag for Anthony Simons. I'm surprised he's only getting 6% ownership.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Like, I think if Jeremy Grant's in, Anthony Simons is my favorite play for Portland.
So wait, I'm sorry, say that one more time.
If Jeremy Grant is in, Anthony Simons is my favorite play from Portland. If Grant is out, Simons is still probably my favorite play, but I would at least have to kind of rethink things with Nurkic and Watford.
And who would benefit the most if Grant is out from a DFS perspective at their price?
I mean, it's got to be Watford going from barely in the rotation to potentially playing 40 minutes.
That 40 minutes was insane, too. I wouldn't be projecting him for 40, but yeah, just potential big minutes there makes it really interesting. Let's wrap this up with a fun one. Appreciate you guys all almost 500 you hanging out with us this morning. Well, Dallas Mavericks on the road. Mavs and Lakers, 224.5 total. No Luka Doncic. Kyrie Irving's questionable. Tim Hardaway Jr. is questionable. Did you see the price on Hardy?
I do now.
Yeah, $7,300 today.
He's more expensive than Klay Thompson. He's $200 less expensive than Darius Garland. He's more expensive. He's $100 less than Desmond Bane.
Crazy, yeah.
He's more expensive than Tyus Jones. And
to be fair, the usage has been monstrous. He is playing a lot of minutes. Like, he's operating with a 30% plus usage rate since Irving and Doncic went out. He's played 37, 41, and 38 minutes.
38 was overtime, though.
Which one was?
The most recent game. He played 33 in regulation.
Oh, was that Spurs game overtime?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, well, that's not great. But still, big minutes, high usage. That price point, though, is insane.
It's like the correct price, but
yes,
it's the correct price if Kyrie is out. Right. It's the correct price if Kyrie is out, but relative to the slate, it's problematic. He's still playable, but it's just so difficult to click this guy over, Darius Garland or Bane or whoever. If Kyrie is out, you can certainly play Hardy, but he's nowhere near the slam dunk that he has been on previous slates.
Does anyone else appeal to you if Irving and Hardaway are like, if Irving's in, we already know Luka's out, but if Irving is in, how much do you like that? And if he's out, what do we do with the rest of the Mavs? The problem is, like, Hardaway makes a big difference here too.
Right.
So if we're in a similar situation as last game, where you've got Christian Wood, Wood did play last game. So you had no Hardaway, no Luka, and no Kyrie Irving. It's really hard to approach this. If both of them are out, then we kind of know what to do. We saw the rotation.
Yeah, exactly. So like if Kyrie is in, I don't really like anything on this team outside of maybe getting to some Kyrie, but even that is difficult just given his salary and then the salaries of other guys. It's not that 10-2 for Kyrie without Luka is a problem. It's that 10-2 for Kyrie when he's $3,000 more expensive than a bunch of other good guards starts to become a problem. But if he's in, this team doesn't look very appealing. If he is out and Hardaway is in, Hardaway looks fine. Hardy looks fine. Josh Green at 6,500 looks okay. He's been a very high usage guy as well. But all of these price tags have adjusted. None of them look like great plays. You also get Christian Wood, who we saw get 24 minutes in about 24 minutes in regulation last game. We had talked about it, where at what point does Dallas, being shorthanded, having no offensive players, say, all right, screw it. We know Christian Wood is a liability on defense, but we need to score the ball. And we saw it last game. We saw him actually get some minutes to where he does have tournament upside, particularly if Kyrie is out, but you're still running the risk of, how many minutes does he play? So if Kyrie is out, Hardaway, Wood, Green, Hardy, all decent plays, but still all very risky. If Kyrie's in, I don't really have interest in any of it except for maybe some Kyrie.
The only problem with Christian Wood is he's not priced like a guy who plays 22 minutes and might play 28 minutes. He's priced like a guy that plays 30 minutes.
Right. But the thing is, too, without Kyrie and Luka and, Dinwiddie, like, you're talking about like a 1.5 fantasy point per minute guy.
Oh, listen, I know he's a phenomenal fantasy producer. He's a good scorer. He can knock down threes. He's a very good rebounder. He does everything you want from a fantasy perspective. I'm just saying there's some sticker shock on that price point regardless.
Oh, for sure. It's similar. It's kind of like what I was saying with Rudy Gobert. Obviously, totally different players, totally different situations. Like, you're getting 30 minutes from Gobert, but I really would like 34 if I'm paying $7K for him. It's kind of the same thing with Christian Wood. But it's like, if you don't play Rudy Gobert at $7K and he plays 34, 35 minutes, you are dead. It's kind of the same thing with Christian Wood. If you play him at 6,700 and he plays 17 minutes, you're screwed. If you don't play him and he plays 24 minutes, you're also screwed. And I have no idea how many minutes he's playing.
Right. If he plays 28 minutes, If you could tell me that Christian Wood was like a 28, 30-minute guy.
Oh, he'd be one of the highest owned centers on the slate.
100%. Even at 6,700.
Right.
Yeah, be no problem. But we just haven't seen a lot of that. So, man, that would be huge, though, if you're playing him because at that price, even if Irving's maybe last game juices that ownership a little bit on him, but I still can't imagine. It's not going to be chalky, though.
No, I mean, he's still expensive in offense center only. He's not going to be super popular. If Kyrie is out, especially if Kyrie and Hardaway are out, you're probably going to get higher than the 7% ownership that you did last time. Yeah. But it's still going to be a risky situation where, does Kidd bench him? But I think that the more guys you get ruled out, like between Kyrie and Hardaway, just the more desperate Dallas becomes for offense and the more likely it becomes that Jason Kidd just closes his eyes while Christian Wood is on the floor.
Pretty much. And hey, they did get that win. So they actually, not only did they get the win, but they scored way more points than I would have anticipated given the guys they had on the floor. So
yeah, well, they were playing the Spurs.
Understood. But I mean, remember we talked about that? We're like, which one of these wins out?
Yeah. The Spurs are bad.
Offense. Yeah. They're so bad, man. And that's what everybody in chat saying Jaren Jackson in a smash spot. Look at his game log versus the Spurs. I agree he's in the smash spot. But I'm pretty sure I could look up most players' record or stats against the Spurs this year, and they look pretty damn good. Like, it's just a great matchup.
Yeah. Also, speaking of the front court rotation, like if they do end up missing Hardaway and Kyrie, you could certainly get more playing time from Powell again. He played about 24 minutes in regulation. Nothing you're excited about, but it does have a trickle-down effect to him as well if these guys are out.
All right, let's wrap it. Lakers. Anthony Davis coming back. He's probable for this one. No reason to assume he won't play. LeBron's still out. He's lifting weights, though. That's the report. But aside from that, Malik Beasley, sub 5K, is getting 20%. Russell's price point has come up to where it's pretty prohibitive there, especially how many good guards have we mentioned? How many good point guards have we mentioned today at like the low to mid 7K range? You throw Kevin Porter in there, $500 cheaper. I'd rather get the Porter.
Right. Yeah, that's the problem. It's just you have a slate where in general DraftKings got softer with the pricing, but then they were like, oh, you know what we need to do is make D'Angelo Russell definitely be the correct price. So, on some slates, you would certainly be able to make a decent case for 8,400 D'Angelo Russell. But with Anthony Davis coming back on a slate where guard pricing across the board pretty much was slashed outside of Dallas guys and D'Angelo Russell, it's really, really, really tough to get there. Anthony Davis is the only guy from this team that I'm particularly interested in.
Not on that 21% Malik Beasley right now?
You're looking at FanDuel.
Oh, I am looking at good call. I switched over. What's Beasley at?
3.
Okay. Priced at
5,100. Only shooting guard.
Yo, what's Dallas going to do against Davis if they have to stick Christian Wood out there for scoring purposes?
They're going to give up 80 fantasy points to Anthony Davis.
They're going to get annihilated. Davis is 8% right now.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I get it. He's center only on DraftKings. FanDuel, he's power forward, so you can get there. But
monster ceiling.
He'll see plenty of Kleba, I'd assume. But either way, it's a very good spot for Davis.
Hey, follow Adam at Ship My Money DFS. Follow me at Laffy_D. You can actually follow. It's like a flight tracker. You can follow Adam to see how late into the morning he's tweeting to know if he's going to be here the next day. So when he's quote tweeting Pitching Ninja at 3:16 in the morning, you're like, all right, it's probably going to be Ryan tomorrow. Follow me at Laffy_D. Shout out to Jacob Roach for producing this one. You guys are the best. Thanks for hanging out. Remember, you want to hop in on a chalkboard chat with us. It's totally free. The app is free. Everything on it. All the picks are free. Greg's in there. Josh, I'm in there. Matt Kajeski, we're all hanging out. And we're going to migrate a bunch of people over there as well. So help us build that up. We'll see you back here tonight for the deeper dive and live before lock. Peace.